We are back. Welcome back.
Right.
And yeah, you know what? I'm going to ask our producer early on. We have a series in our hand. Let's fly some predictions. And I have to say, Illy, what do you have to say for us?
I'm right and you're wrong. That's all I have to say. I am the only one who believed on this analyst test that believed in Maryville. And I told you Maryville could take a game off of them. I told you. And I was right.
What's that? What's that all-time call from Kobe? The faithful have been rewarded. Illy was the faithful, the Maryville faithful, and the Maryville Saints. You know,
I'm so proud of them.
I think it works. Very proud. We're very happy with Maryville, and we have a series in our hand. This is going to Game 3, and keep in mind, 100 next. They need to win this match to stay in control of their destiny for the #1 seed. They're the #1 seed right now, but could be overtaken. And Maryville needs to win this to guarantee they get top 10. So this is a really big game that we have coming up. Before we tease Game 3, I do want to go back to Game 2 and the draft. Smacks, we saw the picks come in, sticking with the Nico, sticking with a lot of that early priority that you were calling for, Illy, on the side of Maryville. And things worked out this time.
Yeah, they definitely felt a lot more comfortable with a draft like this. They kept a lot of things the same. Like you said, Cubby, the Nico and the Xin Zhao were exactly the same. But Niles on his signature gangplank and this Zeri in specific was so huge for Azog in that bottom lane. And this is, again, something that Illy said. Illy's just the biggest brain on the show today, saying that they should give faith to bottom lane, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Two thumbs up.
I said to believe in the bottom lane. I said try go out of your comfort zone, try something. And I loved that they picked up Zeri, and I loved how he had a moment to shine, really. And it worked out for Maryville. And oh my god, it was so much fun to watch. Like my heart was racing. It was great.
I mean, thinking back, that was a big highlight of yesterday's series. I thought that Azog had his best series yet, and that came from his play on the Zeri. Returning to that in this one ended up being massive. Now, before we get to that, we do also have to praise some more aspects of Maryville. One of the big differences in this game, Smacks, compared to Game 1, that top lane matchup, our featured matchup going into this one, Niles on that specialty gangplank, he ended up picking up an early kill from a skirmish and turned that into even more against General Sniper as Niles about to show the young Zoomer what's up a little bit up here.
Yeah, Niles is taking part in a lot of these skirmishes, but before that, he does get this solo kill, landing a barrel chain, flashing forward with a trial by fire, and then the oranges to keep his health topped off while the hook shot comes in. Smooth as butter, Niles up in that lane, and I didn't even notice the thumbs up emotes from both.
Yeah, I like the trade of thumbs up. You know, we're seeing that respect still. As you know, it's just like Niles picking up double buffs and giving Sniper the treatment that he gave him in Game 1. So props to Niles and Maryville. That was one part of the map that really turned around early. Now as we shift into the later stages of the game, Maryville this time around, because the early game went better off for them, they were actually able to implement their system. They were able to control the map, and things really broke open at this play where they catch Sniper out in between these turrets and smacks from here. This is just such good gameplay from Maryville.
Yeah, they're really bullying out Sniper in this game, and these picks are so easy. Shady especially was completely popping off on this Leona, finding play after play after play. But to even get to a point where they felt this confident, a lot of it came off of the skirmishing skill from APA and Odd Orange. And in this team event in specific, we're seeing triple kill for that Nico, the signature pick from APA, recently buffed as well. He couldn't have asked for a better patch to be playing this champion on, and he's actually making it work in this game. That early game worked out super nicely. We're getting a little taste of what's to come there from Azog Zeri at the end of that clip.
All right, we get back for replay, and Illy has a crown for taking the one game from Maryville. And Illy, I know that, you know, I feel like you deserve the crown for being right on the desk, but if we were going to give it to anyone in the game, or for any play that we saw, it would have to be Azog. And I know that this next replay, it started with a pick. But, what do we have? No?
It's both of them. The bot lane, Leona's picks and, like, Leona's engages were on point. And, like, Leona did amazing. It's always Lady Carrie gets all the credit while the support just, like, sits back. No. It's both of them together.
You know what?
They share the crown.
You don't even know this. You're with 2 support mains here on the
That's
desk, so I'm thrilled to hear this. But moving on to the replay, we got to give some props to all of Maryville. I know this started with a pick on Fnatic. Shady, who you highlighted there, Illy, finding this play, opening up this window. Maryville start the Baron, and walk us through this, because what happens on the back half from Azog was incredible on this area.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of experience doing play-by-plays, but I will try.
What stands out? Any highlights? Any big moments? Or you just want to keep on hyping up the bot lane?
Oh yeah, okay. So they got the pick. They got the pick, and Leona was low, so she backed so she could get back to the Baron as quick as possible. She actually distracts them to the side here, so it actually isn't that bad because they're able to still pick up the Baron here. Which I was actually a little concerned because I thought they needed to get out here because 100 next faces them down. But luckily, Azog, what his name's Azog. I hope it's
Azog. Azog on the Zeri. He starts popping off.
He starts popping off. He dodges a charm coming up here. It was just incredible to see. It was. At this point, this is where I was like, oh, Maryville's gonna win. Maryville's gonna win. This was the turn. Like, they were already doing well, but I was like scared they weren't gonna be able to close the game. And this is where I was like, no, Maryville's got this.
Yeah, this was about the time in our call where we just started hearing Illy chant, "I'm right, you're wrong. I'm right, you're wrong," which we were pretty thrilled about. And hey, ended up coming true thanks to Maryville.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know what you were talking about not being practiced with play-by-play. You were giving us the play-by-play that whole time, the whole game in the call. You were like, oh, he's going for this play. It's time. It was so hype watching that game with you. And I'm sure Maryville are really hyped about this one, too. They just doubled the loss count of 100 Thieves next at match point 2, trying to move forward in this bracket. Really, really big deal for Maryville here.
Yeah, I know that we're almost out of time. I just want to grab any last thoughts. Max, I'll start with you. Anything that we want to see in Game 3 from either of these teams? I'm looking for Azog to not be on Zeri on the side of 100 Nax. What other adaptations do you want to see?
Yeah, that was the main one. I would advise the Zeri ban for 100 Thieves. The champion looks a little too good.
Yeah.
You might also want to look at banning out Odd Orange one more time on the Xin Zhao, honestly. I think getting him off of both Lee Sin and Xin Zhao would probably pay dividends to attack his early game pool.
Illy, any closing thoughts? Can Maryville take a second game?
Yeah, get that support on another engage. If the draft goes that way. All
right, Shady Leona.
I believe in you, Maryville. I know 100 Thieves, 100 next, they have the upper hand, but I believe in you, Maryville. You can do it.
Well, hey, it paid off for one game. We'll see if it pays off for 2. Before we throw it back to our casters, I do want to remind everyone, if you want to join the conversation yourself, you can tweet at us with the hashtag #WeAreUnified, and your tweet can show up on twitch.tv/academy. Get on that lower third. Give us your thoughts. What do you think about Game 3? Are Maryville going to pull off one of the biggest upsets we've seen in Amateur so far this year, or will Honda next reign supreme again? Travis D. Rebel, they're going to be the ones that walk us through this Game 3. Let's pass it off to them and see what happens in this series.
Thank you to our fantastic desk. We are ready to get into our final game of a fantastic series here. 100 Thieves Nets Maryville looking to go mano a mano, 1-to-1. Only one team can walk out of here. Rebel, this is exciting.
It got mounds more exciting. A game like that is already really, really tough to come down from, but then to also be in a state where now we have playoff ramifications, we have proving grounds ramifications, we have legacies on the line for 100 Thieves, we have reputations on the line. Things are just all ramping up all at once between these two, and the level of play is just immaculate right now between these two teams. I'm so much looking forward to how they've now developed the meta of what this looks like, because we are in the 3rd time in a row, red side for Maryville, blue side for 100 Thieves. They've kept on those sides the entire series.
By the way, game point taken away. No game point for Niles this time around, so 100 Thieves next, what you got as they're going through a couple picks?
I wonder now whether or not... Okay, I was curious whether or not they were actually going to go back to the Jinx as a first pick, but they don't do that because they don't want to have to go over the Zeri if the time comes. They have responses when the time is around. And here on Orange, he gets his Xin Zhao taken off the board because junglers have been taken off at all bounds. Would shock me to see if they go back to the Zeri, both an ironic statement and a very true statement. But then also the Trundle is the potential grab here. There's a couple of other things that I think that Odd Orange could play. It's pretty menacing available. The thing I want to see most is the Trundle. I think it has a lot of early agency. I think it has a lot of ways to kind of impact the map that Odd Orange, the way that Odd Orange really wants to in the beginning of the game.
There's the hover for the Trundle yet again. See if it does find itself locked. As there's a couple options on the board from Maryville, and that is the best option they see in front of them. Trundle locked. 100 Thieves nets. They see a Zeri and Trundle across the table. Do they lock in the Jinx again?
It's a great question. Or do they have something actually planned for what is the matchup up against the Zeri? And it's clear that they do. Array goes onto the Tristana immediately. They see the Zeri and they go Tristana, Nautilus into the bottom lane. More engagement potentially for Sword on the bottom side as well to pair with this Tristana to full engage. This is not going to be a passive laning phase. I don't think Array wants to sit here necessarily with the Tristana and just wait around. No, they are going to attack against the Zeri. I'm happy to see one of these teams have finally really come around to the realization that this can make such a significant impact in a game like this, and it is Array who is the one that steps up and says, I'm going to dive onto you, and we're going to see how your laning phase holds up.
This is looking like, hey, look, where you've been talking about weak side in the early game, just keep your eyes peeled on the bot lane. We do see the Leona yet again. We heard on the desk from Illy. They want to see that yet again, another fantastic performance from Shady. Shady had a great performance on the Leona. See if he can replicate that, duplicate it, or even come up with an even stronger one as we're going into our second ban phase.
We are, and I love that 100 Thieves also goes away from the Nico. They say, hey, okay, it doesn't matter what's remaining on the board. The Gangplank's off the board. The Jace is off the board. Those are things that will work for Niles. Now it's time to pinch off APA's pool. They take the Nico away from him for the first time in the series. It was immaculate in games. Game 2, definitely. Game 1, I think it was also perhaps the best performing champion on the entire team. So it's not shocking to see that 100 Thieves have made the adaptation and said, we're not giving you that one away. It's a question of whether Syndra is the second pickup here as well. That's something they've gone back to again and again. APA, it's kind of the bread and butter champion that they go for inside of a game like this. Not shocking to see that one taken off either. So now APA is a little further down the pool as well.
Yeah, picking something new inside this has been just locking in. But here's a power pick that has been left around inside of this game, and it's Rise, baby.
It's a question now of whether Insanity has something to play into it. I know I've seen Ari potentially into something like this. And that it's a possibility to go back to it because it's not banned off the board. Insanity could rock that champion once again. It doesn't have the push to stand up to the Rise at the very beginning of the game, but it does similar things to what it did in the previous game. And now with an aggressive bottom side, I think there's a lot more opening potentially to try to, maybe make roams towards mid lane, make more of an impact, help out Insanity get out of a laning phase. Instead, goes for safety, goes towards Orianna for some team fighting prowess as well. 100 Thieves doubling down on the 5-on-5 aspect of what this composition is going to intend to do. Something very safe and easy to play in the middle of the game, and they're going to go to 4-1. They take a blind Fiora? Oh.
The bravery from Sniper here said, yo, he doesn't have gameplay. Let's see what else he got. Put down the gauntlet, and that is a Fiora. It is a couple of hovers here. See what the locking is from Niles.
I don't love the Gnar hover.
It's there.
I don't love the Gnar hover.
It's locked in.
It's a matchup that feels like it's pretty tough for Gnar to just outright take. I know we're on 12-4, and so Graves isn't necessarily like the option that it was before previously. I'm not saying that's even the response, but to take Gnar into like this Fiora lane feels so strange. Like Fiora is such a good champion in taking one-on-ones, and Gnar, when he's in mini form, is so susceptible to the one-on-one damage. I know this is far more for the team fight. I know the range advantage is something that can be used to great avail from Niles, but man, I was not expecting it. They had such an opportunity to try to punish a very kind of volatile pick in Sniper's top lane Fiora, and they go to something that could actually be beaten if the right resources are put into it. If Sniper gets that off to a good foot, it's so hard for Niles to do anything in this game.
But think about it like this, too. We were talking about the team fighting ability from 100 Thieves Nets. Hey, look over at Maryville. All of a sudden, this pillar becomes a teamfight engagement tool. You got Mega Gnar? Yo, that's a free wall to throw everybody into. So, hey, this might be part of the plan. They've got a pretty thick lineup too, right? Like, this is a squad We have seen the tank rise builds. We know Nara is going to be very hard to burst down inside a fight. So I'm curious on if this game goes even. Maryville looks like they might feel good.
I think the expectation here that I'm setting out for both of these teams is that top lane is likely going to be left on an island. Outside of Fnatic maybe trying to get some Fiora action at the beginning of the game, get it set to a right foot. Maybe the same is true of Orange if they want to try to set it. But the idea for both of them is Sniper's playing a 4-1. Yes, you could be in team fights, things like that, but mostly going to be taking towers and stuff off the opposite side. And Niles here, I don't think anticipates to receive resources. Otherwise, you don't take a Gnar into a Fiora matchup, and instead just wants to live that matchup, just wants to try to survive. And so the range is kind of what the intention is here, to throw in another person inside of a team fight that could potentially do some work. I think there's other champions that could fit the same role, but obviously Niles, it's a preference pick here just to make sure that he stays safe in the one-on-one against the Fiora. So then you look at the remainder of the map and you think about what they're able to do, and it seems like Maryville, they kind of want to attack immediately. And I think mid lane is a great place to go, just because if you break out Rise, all of a sudden, again, you're now playing the Insanity style, where you break out your mid laner and you start attacking for your sides, and things look really good for you. And I think that's the intention. I think Maryville wants to play to mid and bot, and because of that, and Niles has gone to a pick that's supposed to keep him safer in the laning phase, or that he can try to stay very safe within the laning phase, that will eventually contribute to a team fight in some meaningful way with the Gnarl.
I do want to bring up too, we did see the first early gank that was successful for Orange was in the bot lane with this Zeri-Leona combo. So there could be even attention shown there. You said it could get a little bit more aggressive. It might just be a bit more spicy. Both these teams tend to play weak side, bot side, but hey, there might be some attention all of a sudden down here with some pop-off performances in game 1 from Array, and in game 2, Azog popping off as well.
It's a lot more interesting that 100 Thieves decided to do, because they're playing a more aggressive bottom side. So I'm curious to see whether Fnatic decides to go top or bottom lane. I don't expect the mid lane push that they've kind of built themselves on.
Here we go. Game number 3, ladies and gentlemen. Who you got? Let us know inside Twitch chat as we are getting into what is the final game between these two series, between these two teams with so much on the line.
Like I said, ramifications across the board for both of these teams. A win is a knock against 100 Thieves, but I don't think it dethrones them as just outright the best team inside of Amateur, or maybe even inside of Academy. But it's a bigger statement for Maryville because of how much adversity I think the team looks at. Because, getting put out here is kind of the expectation. Dropping in their group to Taco Gaming, I don't think was expected. They were kind of supposed to be a top 4 team. And so to come out here and beat the number 1 team, yes, you lost to Taco Gaming, who was the 5 seed, but being able to beat the 1 seed means they are a competitor at the absolute top level, which is something that you're missing a little bit of against some of the other top-level competition that Maryville's kind of missed out on, especially this team who didn't get championship points. It would be a really big statement win to have 2 of your teams inside, and one of them being the only one who's taken a series off of 100 Thieves next. That would be an incredible way to kick off a Proving Grounds run.
I want to talk about the level, by the way, real quick, as we're getting into the calm before the storm here. Both the teams that were in the finals of the first qualifier are at a series that's 1-1 against a collegiate team right now. That's an insane thing to think about between these two teams leveling up and really looking to take the fight to the teams that finished first and second inside of it on both of our streams. This is a very exciting day of League of Legends.
It truly is. And it's a great representation for Collegiate, because I get to plug Collegiate now, as they have a lot of top-level teams in a number of places. They've had a pretty good takeover of Amateur as of lately. At one point, it was just Maryville. In fact, I remember the clip that was showed at the beginning of the show was back in 2020, when Proving Grounds was just kind of kicking, or Scouting Grounds was a really big thing, and they weren't quite at Proving Grounds yet. And the game was between Maryville and 100 Thieves to be able to qualify into top 3 or top 4, top 2, my apologies, to be able to contest against, I believe it was a new at the time. So it's kind of incredible how far we've come, because at that point it felt unfeasible for any team except Maryville to be there. And now we've got Winthrop is right there. You've got Maryville's here. ISU was inside of groups. You had Bay State that had points in pretty significant margin. UCI, all these teams that came about. And that's the end of my collegiate spiel. We won't start anything else. Instead, let's take a look at what the junglers are doing right now, because it looks like Orange on that 4 camp clear is preparing for a level 3 that could come about to bot lane or into the mid lane. Fnatic's going to be there. He did the same clear path that I talked about in game 1, where you go red Raptors into reversing back to bottom side by going into your Grump, and then blue, and then your Wolves to be there on the defensive mid lane if necessary. And then, of course, you can path right back up to the Scuttle Crab because it's going to be spawning right at the time that you finish it.
I love to see it, and both the junglers looking to do their plugs over towards the Scuttle Crab. Next up, Fnatic will get the top one. Odd Orange will find the bottom one as APA gets himself a nice little recall off of an early shove. As not much insanity has happened throughout this map so far, as it's just been chilling. Most of these laners just getting these shoves and getting back in the lane as soon as they can.
And I wonder how tense this is for both teams. Specifically, I'm really curious what 100 Thieves is actually thinking right now, because it's a very high rarity for somebody to be able to beat them. 20-game win streak coming out. I'm not trying to say that they are mentally capable of dealing with it, but more so just I'm curious what has changed, whether or not they don't go for some of the individual plays like we saw in game number 1 that really did make a significant difference. At some point, we're going to see Sniper go crazy on the Fiora up against the Gnar. I'm anticipating it rather heavily. But again, I wonder if things like that get kind of put on a back foot a little bit in a game like this, just out of respect for the competition that they're against and not wanting to throw a series.
Sometimes it's about how you get back up, and Fnatic looking to make presence into the bot lane. Nice dredge line comes through. Shady puts out a nice little bit of damage, and that slide is ever so annoying. Jinzao can't follow through on the Zeri there.
Another fantastic fog slide. Right after it looked like Fnatic was actually going to get a nice angle onto Azog, force a summoner spell, they just slip out relatively easily. Nothing crazy, just a bit of engagement burns. Potions burns, I think, on both Shady and on Azog, but they're not that concerned about what happened right there. So it is a push on bottom side. It's going to buy a timer for Array to go back and just immediately come about. But again, this is somewhere that I'm looking immediately for resources to go into. I like that 100 Thieves are already throwing something down there because, again, it's something we haven't seen most of the game is a lot of ganks or a lot of attention being paid to our bot laners, but this feels like one where 100 Thieves is set up for. It's not a game plan we see all that often, and so I'm curious to see what kind of variability they have to some of their gameplay. We've seen a lot of ways they've been able to play out a number of different maps, but this is the one that we really haven't gotten that much exposure to, is trying to get Array going at the very beginning of the game.
And he's an immaculate player, right? Like, his team fighting does not lie. His damage is insane. And you and me, we walked into this game with the storyline of the kill participation numbers for between Azog and Array being down there in comparison to every other team out there. But immediately this game, as the game has evolved, it looks like they're trying to get those numbers up, pump them up, get those numbers in their favor a bit more. This is the earliest dragon of the series.
Oh, yeah.
They've all gone to 10 minutes, Rebel.
I actually find a really, really nice timer for this, because this is, the Tristana and the Nautilus back timers had just come back from the lane. The return had actually been there from Azog and Shady as well, because they had a back timer as well, and they kind of sacked a wave on bottom side just for the ability to do this. Now, top side is the pressure. I like this from 100 Thieves as well. Again, attacking your side lanes are the best places to go, and now Niles is under some threat.
Yeah, he doesn't have Mega Nard just yet either. The Grand Challenge thrown out, but check it out. Shady read the play like a book. Niles about to go Mega. That means 100 Thieves Nets cannot continue the aggression.
Really kind of incredible right there. You love the coverage from Shady, who, again, I think at the beginning of the series, I highlighted as being somebody that I want to see have an impact across the map. And in Game 1, wasn't able to have the kind of thing that he wanted, but on this Leona has looked completely revitalized. Has been able to more than match what Sword has put out on the Nautilus, which is a champion that we expect him to do really good things on when it comes to putting pressure across the map. In a game like this, again, Sword isn't as valuable going mid lane. I think it's harder to gank for an Orianna in a game like this. And try to actually come about with anything, even with a level 6 about. And so that to me is something important, is that you can't really get an Orianna going the way other people can. A pinch into the jungle.
They find an anchor toss onto him. There is a shockwave available for Insanity. He just needs to move the ball in there. Only tags one. Array uses the cleanse, but nobody is there to threaten him. Azog is there to hit him on the side, but everybody gets out alive.
How did we sneak out of that situation with no kills, Travis? Everybody was close together for like more than 5 seconds, and yet nobody was able to get it. Oh my lord. Kind of incredible stuff. somewhere in the midst of that, I'm not sure who it was that disrupted the Rise ultimate that would have put a complete stop to everything right there, but props to whoever it was, because I think that burnt a lot more from Maryville than they wanted to give up in an exchange, and APA had an amazing ultimate in the midst of all that to almost get everybody out. It was a single knockup. I don't know whether it was the shockwave coming out from Insanity or whether Sword had gotten a bit of CC onto him, but that was really the big shifting move, so props to whoever was able to stop that, because that would have taken MU completely out of that fight. They would have had the health bars potentially to compete. They would have got Zeri up there, and that would have meant that the play was completely destroyed from 100 Thieves, and maybe actually would have led to better to like the setup that they have now around Maryville and maybe a re-engage, but it ultimately did not. Instead, 100 Thieves, they take that timer, they get to come back to top side, they're able to grab this Rift Herald up, and that's going to be a bit of gold that's able to go into somebody's pockets. I kind of want to see it in Sniper's pockets, although it's the bottom lane that seems to be the one that they want to get going in a game like this, so part of me also wants to see Fnatic just reverse direction and take it right to the bottom side.
Rebel, I'm just checking my heart rate right now. This is such an intense game already. I'm just casting it, and I can feel the air is just so tense as we're watching this game. One slip up, one move can just as easily find one of these teams gaining a huge advantage inside a team fight after seeing the HP bars like that. And you see the rotations moving around the map. They're going stable yet again. But these ultimate abilities are going to come back up, and I have to think that as soon as they're back, we might see the run back in terms of a team fight.
Look at the setup that's actually held on bottom side. 3 control wards in the Dragon Pit and 2 in the river here for Maryville to defend the bottom side. Niles doing fine on top side. They've got the coverage for actually Sniper to not get ganked either. But right now it's a pretty even state in both top and in bottom. So the biggest difference that sits on this map is actually the mid lane. APA on this Rise has been doing great things against this Orianna to kick things off. And eventually the wave clear is going to start to come through for the Rise. That's going to things up. Now, Rift Herald in the lane gank is quite a bit here on bottom side. I think it's about 3 plates that'll come through. Niles is actually just going to teleport to defend this, and he kicks Array out! Array didn't get any of the plates!
That was a terrifying situation. Array was right on the knife's edge.
Okay, so the intention there from Niles was never really to stop, like, never really to go for a fight against Array or catch him with an ultimate or anything like that. But the threat of his presence with the rest of the team potentially being around shoved Array back. I'm almost certain that he didn't get a plate from that. There was no auto deliver. He wasn't quite close enough to get local gold. And I think because of that, that's a wasted Rift Herald. This is the member you wanted on. It doesn't go onto Orianna, doesn't go onto your Tristana, who you're really trying to throw in, and it doesn't go onto your Fiora for the side lane pressure. It all goes into Fnatic, which is great. Don't get me wrong, you want the gold, but that's not where you want the gold. And so huge play actually from Niles to be able to deny that with just his presence alone on this Gnar pick, being able to terrify the 100 Thieves ADC out of range to make sure there's no additional gold going into their pocket.
Sniper didn't even get anything out of it. I had to actually was in the midst of a reset. That was also Niles making that play while the wave was in such a great state. And you can see the pressure being applied in the bot side. Fnatic looking to set a target onto this Rise from APA, who is having a phenomenal series inside the mid lane. And Trundle has just been sitting this entire time down bot, looking to make the presence known. But Orianna is behind him in the bot lane. We could be in for some action. It's like it will be a disengage as top lane. Sniper's going in. The challenge has been laid out. It's mini Gnar. Niles is getting flashed upon. The parry doesn't find its mark. Sniper feeling so feisty.
So the miraculous part of that is that flash made it so that there was no play to come through from Sniper because it denied the top zone from going down, right? Niles wasn't able to defend with the wall by his positioning. Is an attempt to get against the wall, but then also to bounce away. It was a really good place to be. But those two had been taken away, so there was no way to defense against it by standing on the rightmost wall and didn't have time to get to the leftmost wall. But the flash at the very end of that play denied the top zone from going down. Had the top zone been gone down, Sniper almost certainly gets all 4 and kills Niles right there, even through the flash. But the defense of that one bit of true damage and a little bit of everything, it kind of takes away the play from Sniper, and the forced flash is traded back and forth between the two. So now it's just a teleport advantage, and the trade-off for it is a dragon in the hands of Maryville. They were able to snag it during that time.
Sniper can't proc the Vital, and Niles has the the Fiora. You're playing against Fiora item buy with the Bramble steel plated boots, so it is definitely something where Niles is really just playing to his advantage here.
What happened?
It didn't get it.
They didn't get it. It was Infernal Drake second, right? They got the mountain at the very beginning of the game. They steal it or something? I wasn't actually able to pay much attention.
100 Thieves
paying
Nets
so much
got the
attention at the
Infernal.
beginning.
They got
I know that, but I want to know how it happened because I don't know if it was 100 Thieves that just walked into the river and got it. But
there's a rune prison there, and that's first blood. At 13 minutes into the game, Niles getting jumped onto yet again. The grand challenge gets brought this time. Niles knows that the end is near. Will accept his fate gracefully. But back into the mid lane, a flash toss coming in. The dredge line, the subjugate onto Sword, and they're diving. They're taking tower shots as this is all happening. Shady's coming over to try and assist. Gets the stun. APA landing the damage and finds himself a kill.
You'd appreciate a number of things that are actually happening right there from Maryville. First off, Sniper getting the solo kill, finally saving up to the Fiora. This is going to start to get even more terrifying. Niles has to be careful in this laning phase from here on out, because the Fiora, all of a sudden, a snowball can begin very quickly to start punishing up against the Mini-Gnar, which is just not what you want. The side laning doesn't look good. Mid lane, finally, a punishment comes through from the Trundle very early to get a nice kill against Insanity, and the play afterwards is the defense of the tower comes through. A lot of it off the back of Odd Orange, being able to snag the Aftershock stats from Sword, tanking a couple of turret plates, and using the rage of APA to punish the two melee champions. So, again, Maryville finding good strikes across the map, putting down members that need to be put down, and I think denying a lot of the win conditions that 100 Thieves had set out for themselves. Right now, it's just the terrifying side lane for Sniper against the Gnar that really has the most influence across this map.
It's interesting, both squads simultaneously at the same time find pressure points to be able to pinch, and both teams feel the effects of the APA looking for action. A beautiful shockwave on the two members, but it doesn't stop the Zenith Blade. They are continuing the march forward. Sword is not long to be here. APA finds himself a kill, and all of a sudden, Maryville are taking complete control of this mid lane.
And I love this coming out from the side of Maryville because they have kind of diagnosed the same thing that I did.
Oh, the Realm Warp!
The Realm Warp! They're going to set up on a Sniper! Oh, they're just waiting.
Nowhere to go!
Menacing!
He's just going to try and fight Niles, but Niles just throws him up against the wall. They're going to be able to secure the kill onto Sniper here. What a rotation. They immediately punish him, and APA finds another kill. 3-0 and 2 on the rise.
So I think I can understand where Sniper is right there, because it's like there's almost no way they just full Realm Warp into behind my tower instead of just going for Rift Herald, because Rift Herald is free, right? Yeah. The exchange for this is mid tower, because Array was able to full push into Zeri. You don't really have the response, so they basically traded the one kill for the mid tower, especially the first tower of the game, onto the Tristana. I think is a bit of a misstep, but I can appreciate that they're going for very aggressive things, trying to make plays into multiple champions, and they've got the Rift Herald in their back pocket, so it's something that they can use to take a tower. If APA can get this top outer tower for himself instead of anything else, I think that's a really big play, especially if they can secure it without Rift Herald, and then you can put that down elsewhere, get a second tower. It eventually becomes a positive play for Maryville. Off the face of it, though, I do actually think that 100 Thieves did end up in a much better position than Maryville wanted them to be.
And trying to weaken down the Fiora after the solo kill is a definite strategy they're looking to do right now. Leona trying to headstick flash over the wall, catch out Sniper, but Sniper smells the play coming from a mile away. Shady, relentless in his pursuit, does not find Sniper and will not overstay his bounds.
Okay, gonna throw Rift Herald into the bottom side for Niles. I kind of wish this was on Zeri instead. And Zeri's within the zone to be able to take some of this local gold. They're not going to be able to do it. Instead, they just give it all to Niles right there. Top lane Orianna's actually getting a fair amount of damage down on the top tower as well. And it's going to be traded, so it's just the 1-for-1. So again, ultimately, 100 Thieves actually come out ahead of what the Rift Herald play had led to. It's just the one kill in exchange for a whole tower. Unless Rift Herald actually gets a second tower as well, this would be a huge play.
Oh, they're getting it.
There we go.
Not going to be able to find it. Zenith Blade goes a little wide in the play, so just 2 towers, but definitely what they wanted from this Maryville squad.
Maryville was there so much faster to be able to support the play that was pushing, right? Because there's a situation where, you know, Insanity teleports in and all of a sudden a fight breaks out, but because Maryville's got full control, they don't worry. They're in river now, looking at this dragon. That's gotta be, like, pixel perfect. That was absurd. It looked like it was at 1200 health before the Realm Warp even procced.
Okay. APA RPA, I said phenomenal series. Rebel, what's a word past phenomenal?
I can't even give him positive descriptions. At this point, I have to give negative descriptions like nasty or disgusting. I'm going to call him an animal because that was absurdly well timed. APA is a menace over the course of the series. The Nico looked amazing. You remember there was a time and a place where this guy was in Aurelion one trick. Like, this guy was like, we were like, he's going to play that or Talia and he's going to be roaming. And how many champions has he added to the pool as just being an absolute masterclass? You threw Syndra into that. You threw Lucian into that. You have Nico in the back pocket as well. And the Rise right there, I know it's not an exact perfect example of masterclass, but 3-0-2 against Insanity in this game against 100 Thieves next? I mean, you're looking pretty good for another champion on that kind of that mountain right now.
Right now, 100 Thieves Nets, I mean, the gold lead is not really shifted too heavily hard, right? Maryville has themselves a slight lead. They've been able to find themselves 2 Drakes for themselves as well. But this is still like an anybody's game kind of game. It's just Maryville are finding all these proactive responses. They look very comfortable when moving around the map. It's just 100 Thieves Nets are finding these moments to slug back, to be able to lay in a punch of their own. And that's why 100 Thieves Nets have been able to stay equal in gold. They've been able to stay inside the game in terms of gold. They've kept the lead at just about a 2K differential.
Yeah, 100 Thieves have been really good over the course of the season. They did it last game too, where the lead never really got out of hand until the time came to really make an aggressive play. And when the play didn't come fruition, that was really when everything kind of went off the deep end for them. But they're able to keep things within striking distance, which is to me that's symbolic of a team that's capable of doing great things, right? Like if you can keep a lead to 2,000 and keep it at that mark for like 20 minutes, the game no longer really has an advantage to it, which I think is very positive. A game like this, I do have one bit of struggle with 100 Thieves composition, which is that Tristana is a lot more traditionally a single target ADC when it comes to being able to blow up individual targets across the enemy team. And she has to deal with Rise, who's very tanky. She has to deal with a couple of members that have very high health. And then Zeri is the one target she really wants to jump on. So that's another thing too, is again, Array tends to play more of these standard ADCs, things like the Jinx, things like the Scalers that can 5v5 teamfight take over with big AoE damage. Tristana is a bit out of the wheelhouse. I'm really curious to see what Array is going to be able to do to try to jump on the opposing damage of Maryville, especially if he could find ways to get angles onto Azog to be able to punish from there.
This game right now, it's just a game of them moving around the map too. I do want to point out Hullbreaker, immediately completed for Niles. Niles saying, all right, I know where I'm at. I'm in this side lane. He's going to be here all the time. Actually, a little surprised that we haven't seen the purchase from Sniper just yet. Has that T-Mat plus Divine Sunderer combo. But you can see that both of these teams, they have an idea of what the strengths, what the weaknesses are, and they're trying to see how they can press the advantage. We have a little bit of a 1-3-1 that's been happening for the past couple of minutes with Sniper and Insanity just kind of catching the farm, catching the waves over here in the sides. It's a very interesting way that they're actually playing it out, and they're not really getting punished for it.
They aren't. And slowly this Fiora is becoming more of a menace in the side lane. Although I will say, Rise is pretty capable side laner as well, especially with the tank build. When you're done with enough armor, when you're done with the Frozen Heart, that means that at least the Rise can actually stand against the Fiora. You're never killing, and actually I think on 4 or 5 items the Fiora can still outright kill you if you're pressed too far up. But at minimum there is counterplay there inside of the side lane. And so eventually the Gnar side lane, which was something that I had a lot of distaste for to begin things, has been able to stoke enough pressure from the Fiora that now all of a sudden the Rise could technically take that lane over in the one-on-one, and you're not going to feel that pressed about it, right? Like Maryville's not going to feel that bad if they have to. Notice where we're moving right now, because right now top side is being moved into from Maryville. They got the push from Niles to be able to support this. They're pushing out Vision around Baron to potentially threaten it. They've got 3 really good sources of damage into it. Shady finds Sniper just hanging in the wolf pit. All right,
find me in the wolf pit. Let's go.
Yeah. Kind of incredible. And 100 Thieves doesn't want to swap.
Oh,
they
the
want to trade.
flash
They find
They catch on Azog. That's the death charge. He's gone. That is Zeri taken off the map. Niles is going to be able to go mega. There is a solar flare there. This should make 100 Thieves think twice about pressing the advantage forward. But Sword finds a fantastic catch.
It's precisely the hero play that we need from somebody on 100 Thieves. They find an opportunity and they seize it immediately to get themselves back into fighting shape. The biggest thing, they can't go right for the Baron buff, right? Like, you don't have the ability. You still have a lot of powerful members on the side of Maryville. You can't really take the full 5-on-5 engagement. You're not looking for that close, right? Instead, they go to the Dragon, and they're going to tie up the Dragon counter. Now, Sniper gets over the wall. I think, yeah, he's able to bounce around with a couple of different abilities. They are going to punish him in the side lane, though.
I mean, he got a beautiful parry off there, though, so it just stops everything. That's the trick about Fiora, especially when you put it in the hands of a prodigy like Sniper, who is able to just have that mechanical prowess on a champion such as this.
Yeah, between the two top laners, we've seen, I think, 4, maybe 5 solo kills over the course of the series, and Sniper has had a kill against Niles in this one. But this is the far and away most quiet we've seen it. Nothing has really come about. The side lane is being played out in exactly the way you'd expect it to. APA just gonna ult. Oh, the ult from Fnatic stops him!
Fnatic making the hero move, and yet again, the heroics pay off. They get a massive shutdown on APA.
Fnatic, man. You used to play with APA. That one had to feel a little bit personal. The ultimate canceling their eyes ultimate right there. The trade-off for this, of course, is that 100 Thieves next. They moved multiple members into topside for the defense, and eventually, moving into the offensive, plays that they were able to find against APA does give mid tower to Azog, which is gold that's being traded back. And the exchange was that the Fiora was able to grab the gold. So it's the side laner being able to grab something versus the AD carry, who's going to be in team fights doing a lot of the work. I think, again, ultimately, it ends up being an okay situation for Maryville to be able to salvage on the back end of things to grab up that tower and some of the ambient gold for that character. Notice also, if you will, when it comes to items, we're tracking things. It's 3 items done for APA. He is far and away the most fed inside of this game. The CS is just kind of absurd, well over 10 per minute at this point in the game. You can see Rabadon's almost done for Insanity, who went for also Liandry's because of the amount of health that you're going to be having on the side of Maryville. Not only with the Rise build, but also the Zeri build tends to have quite a bit of it as well. And it's 2 items completed now for Array, which is going to start to mean that the single target damage, even against some of the tankier members, will begin to ramp up. Niles and Odd Orange aren't nearly as safe as they were before the second item, the Lord Doms, has come through, and Array has an opening to potentially take the one-on-one or the kind of the 5-on-5 front-to-back T-fight the way that they kind of want him to in the right circumstances. It's 1,000 gold split, Travis. We're 25 minutes in with 1,000 gold split. We're tied in Dragons. This game is just... It's building too much. I can't handle it.
I'm telling you, dude, the air, it just keeps getting more tense as it goes longer and longer. We are 25 minutes into the game, and I can't pick apart a clear winner here. APA looking to assert himself. Ramwarp coming in onto Insanity. We'll have Azog to join him. They get a nice slow, the root, the solar flare, and that is a pick onto Insanity.
Great pick. And now, because of that, they can walk towards Baron. The threat is the cross map from Sniper, and this is what prevents them from full committing to it, especially because Niles is on this side as well. They're expecting a contention, maybe coming out from 100 Thieves, because it's going to be a guaranteed Baron. But the trade-off is that Array and Sniper are both going to be going for turrets right here, right now. They're going for structures. They do not care about the Baron contention.
No, they do not care about it at all, but you see Fnatic trying to buy some time here. Shady has his attention. Niles jumping forward, trying to see if they can lay in some work. The inhibitor tower in the mid lane has been cracked. The inhibitor tower in the bot lane has been cracked. Fnatic is buying so much time with his life, but it is no inhibitor to be claimed. The escape routes are being cut off. Tristana finally able to grab it. Will Rocket jump over the wall to the safety of Sniper? The grand challenge laid out, a buster shot, but Niles gets taken to safety. Array is dropped, and Sniper is to follow. 100 Thieves find so many members dropped. A Baron secured for Maryville.
This is probably the moment where the game just completely falls in terms of, like, looking back on this game, whether or not 100 Thieves saved it or flubbed it right here with the contestation, in multiple situations. Because Array and Sniper, they go for damage on the base. They get the middle inhibitor. It's going to get traded back immediately, but they got enough time to stall topside. Niles going for it.
He's locked down again. He's going to get taken out immediately.
No way.
He just respawned. And it is a kill going over. 100 Thieves nets are in a terrible way.
How?
Follows him. A double kill for Niles. And everything is falling apart. And I think we might have the answer. If this is the moment that everything falls apart.
I really thought, okay, maybe they have a chance because they were able to get a ton of damage into the base of Maryville. They could stall this out, but they fell like dominoes, one by one, and they haven't been able to slow down Maryville's push at all. They're walking towards the base, Travis. They gotta make a base defense now.
Just ended it. Shady gets popped. Fnatic, his HP is going down.
Sniper's trying.
He's over here onto the side, trying to do whatever he can, but this duelist
Array's up.
himself in a 1v4. Array is in a terrible way. It is
He's out.
Sniper
He's
on
out.
the field. Fnatic is gone. Maryville are looking to put an end to the game, and they will do just that.
They did it! They beat 100 Thieves next! It's the first defeat this team has been given the entire tournament. Maryville needed to win this game to confirm themselves a spot inside of Proving Grounds, to confirm themselves a chance to qualify for the event, and they beat the #1 team to do it!
They beat the king. They dethroned the king here. A collegiate team just took down the team that won it all in the last qualifier. They had a 26-1 record going into the series.
We would never have expected in 100 years. It was obvious from our desk too. We have Smacks and Cubby. Neither one of them even expected a game to go off. I think it would have hard pressed to find a single person outside of our third desk analyst, obviously, that would have predicted even a game going to Maryville, let alone the series. I cannot give enough props to the number of times during the course of that it really did come back down to system. The system at the beginning of the game was implemented well from Maryville. They went systematic as hell on 100 Thieves' asses. And right there, you could see it. There was no avenues for attack. The Trundle, I think, was an amazing addition to this composition because it gave so much priority for Orange to be able to work with that it was just time and time again them enforcing their willpower upon 100 Thieves, who could never really find anything, right? There wasn't ever this moment where 100 Thieves was able to completely recapture things across the map. I really thought that Array and Sniper had done it and found a moment where Dragon Congestion would start to begin to open up with bottom and mid towers, both kind of pushing in with the advanced minions, and they'd be able to play for soul points. But that final push, so decisive, so incredible for Maryville. Niles finding that pick onto Insanity opened up the whole game. What a series, man! What a series!
It was 2 consecutive picks too, right? Like Insanity respawn, and it's like, all right, we're gonna wave clear, we're gonna be able to bounce it back, but he finds a way. It's such a beautiful game coming out from Maryville, and they're going to move on to the next round here, Rebel. Not 100 Thieves next. It's Maryville.
Man, I'm beyond ecstatic to hear what our desk has to say about that when the time comes, because this was not something that anyone was prepared for. This is not something that I think we were ready to go for. I remember earlier today, I had almost convinced myself, having talked to Jensen Go, the coach of Maryville. I talked to him and I was like, Maryville's going to win today. And I had the message typed to our producer so that she could put it on the graphic, and then I erased it because I was like, nah, man, that's just too absurd. I don't think I can make that. And I regret it so much because I wanted so much to support Maryville and be the only caster that predicted it. But I didn't do it. And you know what? I am a fool for doing so because I should have believed in my team more than anybody else had. And the prediction was definitely blew up in my face. So props to them. Continue on in the tournament.
Unfortunately, we're not all deserts. We can't all let our heart take us. Sometimes our mind speaks a little bit too loud. But if you do want to let your heart guide you to somewhere, you can check out our fantastic sponsor, which is Skulls, who make sure that events like this are happening inside of the scene where we get fantastic series like this. You can look fantastic as well. Make sure you check it out. We have our unified collection there where you'll be able to find the hottest of apparel. But we got to take it to a short break. I need to calm down.
We have another series.
We have another series, but we still have interviews. We still have our desk to break everything down. So make sure you guys don't go anywhere, as we'll be right back.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the broadcast, and I'm going to be joined by General Sniper first off from the party of 100 Thieves next. A hell of a best of 3, one of the best series we've seen so far in Proving Grounds. You guys, unfortunately, did not come out on top this time. I know, talking a little bit before this interview, you had a pretty good attitude about it. And I know that you actually want to talk a lot about the top lane matchup. Because going up against Niles, you said this is a guy that just doesn't back down from any challenge. And that's a matchup that's really appealing to you.
No, yeah, for sure. It was definitely a fun series, even though we lost. And like I said before, I think I said it in one of my videos or something. It's really not about how we start, it's about how we finish, especially when PG comes. or I'll personally be ready to like stop hinting and to just start 1v9ing. Yeah, for the Niles part, like personally, I don't really care who I play versus. If it's like Faker, I won't be nervous. You know, if it's like, I don't know, like the Shy, I also won't be nervous. But Niles, obviously a great top laner. He's also my homie. He's like really fun to play against. And it was definitely a banger series. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I mean, it was a hell of a back and forth, and I guess, like, what were some of the things that, like, really impressed you about Maryville today, or, like, some of the things that some of the other teams this tournament have to look out for now when it comes to this collegiate squad?
I think how they play their map is actually, like, well-rounded. They know how to play macro. I'm guessing it's coming from, Niles with his, like, experience and all that. But, yeah, I think their map awareness just like I guess it's what makes them a team, really.
Yeah, and a team that did really well, of course, in the series today. Also, congrats to MU. I know that this does guarantee that they will be a part of Proving Grounds. And currently, you guys, despite the loss, are still the #1 seed. Moving into Proving Grounds as amateur, you are guaranteed to be top 6. I know that now that's the event that you're really looking forward to on the horizons. And what are some of the things that really excite you about that opportunity going into Proving Grounds?
Honestly, I'm just kind of ready to like, even though I didn't really show it today, I think, especially like in the second game, if it's obviously fine to talk about, you know, the games we played.
Yeah.
Like, okay, especially the second game, I think if I didn't help my teammates, on that crab fight, like that level 3 crab fight, and I just kept on pushing top, I would have gotten my cheater recall off, I would have gotten my sheen off, because like, what GP did was like kind of criminal if I didn't do anything, because my team they're also winning the fight, you know. So I should have just kept on pushing top, and then the moment like I helped my teammates out, despite like even if I got the kill or not, which I think I got the assist, my lane was still like pretty doomed because GP kind of came back with double buffs in my lane, and against the level 3 Camille, it's pretty tilting, but yeah, I think if I just didn't move to the crab fight, I could have carried the game. I could have won my teammates the game. So it was definitely my fault.
Hey, always looking for ways to improve. I respect it. I know that obviously today didn't go how you guys wanted, but I still think you guys put a really good performance. Still the #1 seed heading into Proving Grounds. And, you know, that is going to be the next time that we see you. So any parting words you like to give, any thank yous or shout outs before we say goodbye and then see you at the next phase of our circuit that we have?
We will come back stronger. We'll hopefully do really good in PG. I personally want to win it all. I personally want to like just be known as, you know, a good top laner. But I mean, I've been getting better every day. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like I could definitely be doing so much more. So I'm definitely going to be working more harder, or to the point where, I mean, I'm just never going to stop working hard. So that's definitely what I'm looking forward to.
I love to hear it. You know, I always like to say, you know, 10% of life is what happens with you or Tia, and 90% is how you handle it. And
I like that.
Really look up to you for, you know, how you handle this, especially at such a young age. So,
thank you.
Rayan, Sniper, always a pleasure sitting down. Sorry about the series today, but really looking forward to seeing you in Proving Grounds, and we'll see you then.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you. Take care, guys.
All right, we're going to go to a quick break. We'll be right back with a winner's interview to catch up with Maryville right after this. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm now joined by the victorious top laner, part of Maryville University. It's going to be Niles. Niles, that is the biggest upset we've seen. 100 Next was 26-1 in their games coming into today. What does it mean for you and your squad to walk away winning this best of 3?
I think that this best of 3 means a lot to our team because I think a lot of things have started clicking for us. If you watch our games, you'll see that pretty much every early game we're getting like a 4K gold lead, and then we'll end up overdiving or throwing somehow because we're messing up our mid-game macro sequence. But this series, we fixed that in practice, and that's why we won the series, because we fixed the mistakes that we've been working on, so that's why it feels really, really nice.
Yeah, and I know that, you know, for you, this is your second bout with Maryville. Of course, some things familiar, you know, having Odd Orange and Shady, some other things different, having teammates like APA and a coach in Jensen. Now, Jensen was very public about, you know, the system being built at Maryville between both rosters you have that were competing in this tournament. What kind of impact has Jensen had on you, your play, and your team going into to just preparing for something like this best of 3?
You know, Jensen has totally changed my view of the game. I mean, like, it's kind of a meme at this point. If you watch our games, casters will be like, "Why is Maryville dropping mid tower?" You know, and like stuff like that. And it's like Pepe laughed. They don't know. It's like, it's really funny. So like, there are a lot of side lane things that Maryville is just better at if you watch our games than other teams because of Jensen. He's like totally warped my perception of the game. And like, yeah.
And I mean, speaking of warps, side laning, I got a tweet here from Peter Dunn, head coach of EG, crediting APA, smurfing a little bit the series, especially that rise in the last game. That's one of the big differences for your squad this time with the two teams. APA is on this roster. What's it been like being joined by him? And like, how massive was he in that third game?
Oh yeah, I mean, it was just a mid gap, wasn't it? Like, if you watch that game, it's like really disgusting how big the mid gap was. But APA has just been smurfing out of his mind. He's a really reliable player. I think people don't respect him as much as he should. I don't know why, because he's performed the past year and a half on the amateur teams he's been on ever since he's been on Supernova. They've always done well, but for some reason he has some negative stigma about him. I don't get it. I love working with him. I think he's an amazing laner, just like, and he sees things on the map similar to me, actually. I think I actually told him he reminds me of myself 2 years ago, and we're very very similar. So I enjoy playing with him. Dominant laning phase, like to play side lanes, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I like how you also started with the Supernova a couple years back, because that's actually how we started framing this series. We started with 100X versus Maryville, Scouting Grounds 2020. You guys came up short trying to qualify as a team. You, of course, made it there as an individual. And now this time around, this victory, you actually were controlling your own destiny. So you now move into 7th in the point standings, which means that you have now earned a spot in the play-in stage of Proving Grounds. And with one more win, you would get top 6.
Yep.
What would that mean to you, not having to play that do or die best of 3 against an academy squad?
Oh, it would mean so much. I actually was telling the boys before we got in this interview, I said the same exact thing. Like, you know, recognize how this feels. We control our own destiny. Like, this feels so good. So it would mean a lot. I think it would mean more to the academy team that we didn't play in the Gulag than to us, because there are some pretty suspect academy teams at the bottom of the standings that I think we would just eliminate from the entire Proving Ground circuit. But it would still feel good just to qualify for the main event as well.
Well, Niles, as always, I love hearing the confidence from you. And, of course, you do control your own destiny in the semifinals. Your opponent either going to be No Team or Ginger Turmeric, the match that we have next on the stream. Any thoughts or opinions on who you might be facing in that semifinals, or what to expect for the series following?
I think we will definitely face No Team. If there's an upset there, I would be very, very shocked. So I'm expecting to play versus No Team, and I think they're a solid team. They're pretty solid. They play scaling team fight similar to 100X. I think they play it just a bit worse, but I definitely expect they're a pretty solid team. I expect to face them, and yeah.
All right, Niles. Well, before I let you go, I just want to let you know that I think every single person on the broadcast had 100X over Maryville. You guys proved them wrong. And any thank yous or shout outs I'd like to give before we say goodbye, whether it's teammates, fans, whatever you'd like to say.
Yeah, I like to thank my teammates. Of course, were so clutch today. They gave me a lot of confidence after the first game. It was a roughie for me, so love them so much. Thanks to all my friends and family for supporting me, and thank you to God.
All right, man. Well, congrats on the wins, Niles, and to you too, Odd Orange. Good seeing you guys so happy and in good spirits. Well deserved after that sort of victory. So congrats again, Niles.
Thank you.
Now, we're going to say goodbye to Niles. I'm going to say hello to my analyst desk once again, as we're going to bring them back. Should be breaking down all the games here. And Smax, Illy, we're back. Illy, you gave Maryville 1 game. I guess you should have trusted that sweetheart of yours and given him 2. It was close.
I was talked out of it. Not fair.
Well, Maryville ended up reigning supreme. The biggest upset that we've had on our pretty much the entire season so far. You got to join us for it, and I mean, what a performance out of these two squads, and we just cannot praise Maryville enough. They just took down the best team that we have in amateur.
I'm really proud of the Maryville guys, and I know that they love posting buff Kirby's on Twitter and everything, so I brought my Kirby here. It's not the buffest Kirby, it's not quite as strong, but I've got it right here. for Maryville. Kirby's out. In support of the boys. Yep.
So Maryville's got Kirby's out. Winthrop has Throps out. That's
Yes.
what we're going for? Okay.
Yeah.
We're trying to figure out here on the analyst desk, but we'd have to figure out a little bit how Maryville got to where they were. I'm going to skip over draft. Let's just start rolling some of these replays. And Smacks, I'm going to start with you. I mean, I think that what Niles talked about with how they play side lanes, how they move around the map, we really saw that firsthand in this game. And it was the big difference in them taking this game 3.
And this is how they snowballed APA to a really good lead here, Illy. I know you wanted to touch on this one a bit.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I love that they let. I was surprised that they let Maryville have Leona again and Zeri. And this was definitely a really good roam by Leona and set up the mid snowball, which is exactly what they needed to do, right? Because playing Sniper, like, you can't really shut down Sniper, right? You have to start making plays elsewhere. And just this play just set up the pace for the rest of the game and gave Maryville an end to their victory, which was awesome.
And Illy, I know that you're joining us for the first time on the desk, but you're big brain. You were saying, have faith in this bot lane. It was the same Zeri Leona being ran back, and you were right. That paid off tenfold for Maryville.
Well, yeah, for the second game for sure. In the third game, the second game, the bot lane really shined, and then the third game, the mid game really shined. But the bot lane still did well, and I was right. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I mean, that's what we do here on the analyst desk. We get the biggest brains. That's why I'm hosting. No more big brain for me. We say that for Academy. For Amateur, we got even bigger ones to join us. And dogs as well, as pets, of course, always reign supreme.
Yeah.
I know that we got a couple more replays, Smacks hopping in, more examples, Maryville making some really good map movements, just guaranteeing that they always had a map advantage going into these fights.
Yeah, we've got another phenomenal play in the mid lane. Again, to highlight APA once more, finds the crowd control on top of Insanity. And Shady's right there yet again to follow up on this one. This is only the beginning of the play, though, because they get a couple of kills mid, get to push in this wave, and then the early devastation of this Realm Warp really starts to set in. APA had so many moments where this spell was the best one used in the entire game. Sniper tries to delay the inevitable by dashing forward, but he just gets snared into the wall, and the whole team gets to follow up again. Maryville moving around the map like we know they do so well, and it just feels even more impressive doing it to 100 Thieves next, considering how undefeated they have been up until this point.
Wildly impressive coming out of 100 next. Now, I believe one more replay, Smacks, top on in?
Yes.
Or, okay, we got one more. Illy, I'm going to send this one over to you. Maryville ended up wrapping up the game, securing the Baron. Walk us through this one when we start getting the tape running.
All right.
Here we go. Laying the trap.
I'm actually going to give it back. I'm going to give it back to Smacks.
All right, throw back the
I'm
Smacks.
going to give it back.
Okay, the Realm Warp split. That was really huge here from Maryville.
Yeah, I'll take it. It's my pleasure here. They get to use the Realm Warp one more time onto Insanity. Sniper is getting a lot of structure damage down in bottom lane this entire time, but he never quite manages to take that bot lane inhibitor. Array does the same thing mid. He is luckier, and he gets the inhibitor himself, but they don't get to break apart both lanes, which I feel like maybe could have been worth it in the end. But they don't quite manage that one. Fnatic gets caught out, so he can't possibly manage a steal onto this Baron, and Maryville gets to take this one down. And afterwards is where the real destruction starts to begin for Maryville as well, because the Baron comes through, and then they have the denial away from both Array and Sniper. You can see that Shady didn't actually recall, neither did Niles. They did this so they still had the positional advantage with all their crowd control on top of both of these carries, and this is the completion of the snowball here. You've got Baron on Maryville, you've killed a bunch of the carries, and they are actually able to fully end the game from there with that one last Baron push that we all just saw. And our jaws just on the floor at Maryville. They finally did it.
Yeah, I highlighted the Peter Dunn tweet during the Niles interview about APA. See that below. Of course, head coach of EG sending some praise directly towards APA. And of course, you can use the hashtag #WeAreUnified if you want to pop up on the broadcast too. Speaking of the broadcast, we're going to be going to a short break as we prep for our next series. But before we do, I do want to say goodbye to Illy. Illy, sweetheart. First time on broadcast joining us. You were great. Thank you so much for your insight. Your Giga Brain predicting Maryville to take at least one game. They ended up taking 2. Are there any thank you, shout outs, or parting words you like to have before we say goodbye?
No, just thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, I know, for my first time, definitely was a very interesting but learning experience. And it was a lot of fun. So I hope I can do it again sometime.
You were great. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you want to go check out Illy Sweetheart, Twitter, also Twitch stream, Jungle Extraordinaire. And yeah, you can go check that out if you enjoy. Illy, thanks so much again. We're going to be going to a short break. When we get back, we will have No Team versus Ginger Turmeric, a surprise roster change as well to inform you about. So we'll see you on the flip side.